Oh my goodness, today we're talking Jesus, the devil, and he makes a crazy statement about the people and who he was. Check it out. Hey everybody, welcome to Bible Time. Welcome back. If you're new, thank you for joining us. What this is just us reading the Bible. One of my goals this year is to help everybody who I know to read the Bible every single day. I believe that it's like spiritual eating, and it's so important, and so I just want to invite you to join me. If you already do that, these videos might not be right for you, but chances are you know somebody that would love to maybe read the Bible. They probably even own a Bible, and yet they just find it difficult to read it, difficult to understand it, and so that's why I'm doing this, going about all the work and making these videos, because I just want to help people spend time in God's Word, and then hopefully encourage them on their own to spend time praying and listening to Him, and then for all of us to obey whatever it is that He has to say to us. And so we're going to jump in. If you are watching this on Instagram, make sure you turn your phone to the side so you can see it in full screen. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I would just ask if you like it, maybe consider subscribing. And wherever you're watching this, maybe share it with a friend. That would be awesome. We're going to jump into John chapter 8, and we're picking up in verse 39, and it is starting with a kind of a crazy subtitle. You are of your father, the devil. Now, subtitles were added later, but it's a reflection of what it is that I think Jesus is probably going to say. So let's see here. John 8:39. They answered him, Abraham is our father. And Jesus said to them, if you were Abraham's children, you would be doing the works that Abraham did. But now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth that I heard from God. This is not what Abraham did. You are doing the works your father did. They said to him, we were not born of sexual immorality. We have one Father, even God. Jesus said to them, if God were your father, you would love me, for I came from God, and I am here. I came not on my own accord, but He sent me. Why do you not understand what I say? It is because you cannot bear to hear my word. You are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. Ouch. That's rough. You are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. I know that we kind of picture Jesus as this like soft little white dude with blue eyes like me, even though he probably didn't look like me at all, carrying a little lamb on his shoulders, but that dude was savage, man. The things that he said to people, the type of like anger that he stirred up, these people really wanted to kill him. And he just added fuel to the fire. You are of your father, the devil. Crazy. He says he was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. So Jesus says that he's a murderer from the beginning, and we know that he's a liar and a deceiver. His primary tactics are actually with his words, with deceit, with twisting of God's truth. Not just actually telling all out lies, but taking what God says and bending it a little bit and telling lies via the truth. But then Jesus takes it up a step that says that he was a murderer from the beginning, and he's telling these people that's who their father is. It's crazy. So let's continue. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Character always speaks to me. Verse 45. But because I tell the truth, you do not believe me. Which one of you convicts me of sin? If I tell the truth, why do you not believe me? Whoever is of God hears the words of God. The reason why you do not hear them is that you are not of God. So he's turning up the heat on this argument. course, you can catch the beginning of that last video if you'd like. But he's really going into the paint strong here. Some pretty strong accusations. And then we're going to get to, I think, a significant statement, self-declaration here. So let's continue. Verse 48. The Jews answered him, "Are we not right in saying that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" Funny. I just wonder how many times Jesus wanted to laugh. Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. Yet I do not speak excuse me. Verse 50. Yet I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death." The Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, as did the prophets, yet you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died, and the prophets died? Who do you make yourself out to be?" Wow. They say, "Are you greater than our father Abraham," who, by the way, died. And by the way, the prophets died. Who do you make yourself out to be? Earlier, a couple videos ago, or maybe last video, we talked about this question of answering this question, the most important question ever asked: who is Jesus? He's posing this question towards humanity. He was back then. He still is now. He's asking us, who do you really think that I am? And they're now asking him back this question, who do you make yourself out to be? And it's this back and forth. And of course, Abraham is one of the most significant members. They call them patriarchs of the faith. Moses is probably the great first leader of God's people, but Abraham was the first person through whom God made a personal, relational covenant commitment. I mean, Abraham, Father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God changed Jacob's name to Israel, and Israel, of course, is all of God's people. So Abraham is the one that God showed up to. Genesis chapter 12 through 17. He makes this covenant with Abraham, and he says, I'm going to bless you to be a blessing, and through you all peoples of the earth will be blessed. And he makes this beautiful covenant commitment saying that you're to walk blameless before me, but even if you can't, I'm going to take your place with the death that you deserve. Anyway, Abraham is the quintessential example of a person who belongs to God's family, and anybody who's in Abraham's line. And so they're standing strong on this declaration that we're slaves to nobody, for we're Abraham's kids, and we're God's family. And who are you saying that you are? Because even Father Abraham died, and so did the prophets. Who do you make yourself out to be? And let's see how Jesus answers. Verse 54, Jesus answered, if I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is my Father who glorifies me, of whom you say he is our God. But you have not known him, and I know him. If I were to say that I do not know him, I would be a liar like you. Man, he's just going in. But I do know him, and I keep his word. I thought that this part was important, where it says, if I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. Beautiful. It is my Father who glorifies me, the one of whom you say he is our God. So he's making a point to say that his Father, the one that he's talking about this whole time, is the same one that they're talking about. The same God that they're saying is their God. So it's just important for him. He's not saying, hey, your God is false. I came from another God. He's saying the same Father, Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that God, that Father is my Father. And so he's making that very clear. Let's continue. But you have not known him, I know him. If I were to say that I did not know him, I would be a liar like you, but I do know him, and I keep his word. Your father Abraham rejoiced that he would see my day. He saw it, and he was glad. So the Jews said to him, You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? Jesus said to them, you got to listen to this. I don't know if you're driving in your car or where you're watching this, but you got to see these words. Jesus said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. So they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple. This statement right here, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am, is so significant. So quick, very important, don't check out on me, history lesson for you. God, when he first shows up to Moses in the book of Exodus, he shows up to Moses and he says, I am God. I'm going to send you back to the Pharaoh. I'm going to send you to my people to bring them out of Egypt. And when Moses said to him, Who should I say sent me? He spoke this name, his name in Hebrew, kind of looks like this, which is the name Yahweh. You've probably heard this before. That's the Hebrew writing of that. The English translation is hard to get exactly. The Hebrew language is such a beautiful language, but so amazing. There was no vowels in it originally. Yod, He, Vav, He, so it's just consonants. You had to know the language to know the language. You had to know where to put the vowels. Amazing. But the closest translation that we have is either I am or I am what I am. It's believed that it was basically this description of a self-existent being that has no need for anything else, that cannot even primarily define himself by anything else, because that would be comparison against something that's lesser than he. So to say I am is like this most beautiful poetic statement of I don't need to describe myself. I can't describe myself in comparison to anything that your little human mind would understand. I just am what I am. I am everything, and everything else gains its definition from me. And so there's so much that could be said about the name Yahweh and the deep meaning of that. But for now, we need to move on to exactly what is important in this passage. So in Hebrew, his name is Yahweh. It means I am. And in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which is called the Septuagint, the exact same passage in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, when God speaks his name to Moses, it's the same passage. The Greek translation of the Old Testament is written exactly like this. Ego, eimi, which means I am. Now I bet you could guess, this is Greek right here. And by the way, the New Testament was also written in Greek. I bet you can guess what the words are right here that Jesus is speaking. Ego, eimi. So what's so significant about this is that Jesus is basically saying to them that he is Yahweh, that he is the same God that was back then showing up to Moses, that as God would speak his name, a name that the Jews wouldn't even say out loud, the name Yahweh, I am, that he is saying that in the same language, a language that they would understand, which is verified right here when it says, so they picked up stones to throw at him. He knew what he is saying. They knew what he was saying. They knew that he was making himself equal with God. That Jesus was equating himself with Yahweh himself. As he said, before Abraham was, I am. He was clearly making a statement to equate himself to the great I am. And so this actually is not in the 7 I am statements officially. This is an 8th I am statement because this one stands all on its own. We're going to see again that the 7 I am statements in the Gospel of John are descriptives about who he is, comparisons. I am the bread of life. I'm the light of the world. Again, this is not what God did in the beginning. He didn't compare himself to something else. And right here in the middle of the I am statements, Jesus also says this, declaring himself to be equal with God, the same one as God. And so, man, that's just beautiful. I don't know what your takeaway is today, but for me, I'm just encouraged at who Jesus is. I get excited about this type of theology and study, and so I hope and pray that you can find something to take away from this. And you know what? Maybe the Holy Spirit wants to speak something completely different to you today. I would encourage you to spend some time in prayer with Him, and I hope that whatever it is He speaks to you through His written word or through His Spirit, that you'll take it to heart, you'll let it change your life, that you'll grow in your intimacy with Jesus and your obedience to Him. So to that end, God bless you.